Okay, so today we're going to talk about AMD and their struggle to be number one and why that struggle is such an uphill battle for them. But real quick, let's check out a word from today's sponsor, Zero and Nine. If you're the type of person who builds a lot of PCs or just changes the parts out inside their PC quite a bit, having an extra Windows 10 Pro key can be a lifesaver, especially if something happens and all of a sudden your registration isn't working. And right now at 019, they have Windows 10 Pro for $16. Now this is like 84% off, but with a coupon code that we're going to share with you, you'll be able to get the same code for $13. That's right, Windows 10 Pro for $13. We'll have a link down below where you guys can check us out on their website, and one thing that's really cool is you can buy as many keys as you want. So I know that there's some AMD fans out there who will probably get mad at this video and just be like, no, Elric, but everything I'm going to be telling you guys today is absolutely no bullcrap. It's completely true. Everything I'm saying is just the facts. That's all they are. They're not my opinions, really. They're just really the way things are in the market. I feel like I got a frog caught in my throat there today. If I cough it up, I'll have a little hermit thing jump around the floor. But check this out. AMD, if you've followed them for years and years and years and years like I have, I've followed them since the very, very beginning when the PC industry first started, AMD has always had a place in the market, and that place has always pretty much been the underdog. Now, I know some hardcore AMD fans are going to be like, hey man, they have had CPUs that have been faster than Intel, and they've had a video card that's faster than this guy, but just having a better processor or a better video card for a slight moment in time is not really the whole war whatsoever. It's not at all. It's a battle in the war, and you might win one battle, but the overall war for them is very, very, very hard. Personally, I think it would be really cool if AMD could rise all the way to the very top and be number one. And the reason for this is for competition. Competitiveness creates diversion in the market, makes things change, and is better for me and you at the end of the day for the products that we can go buy with our hard-earned cash. So one of the very first things that AMD has going against them, this has kind of hurt them traditionally, and I'll explain this, is that if you're a company, especially if you're a technology company, pretty much the biggest aspect of your company other than sales is going to be R&D. Research and development, which is the guy who's sitting back in the back trying to think of the most awesome thing that he can do, out of the box thinking, so that he can come up with a product that will beat the other guy. Now, for years, AMD had a report every year about them losing money, not making money. This went on for a long time. And so if me or you or most people had a company that lost money all the time, we wouldn't be in business. We'd be gonzo. But somehow, hey, AMD has been around forever. Every year, even though they lost money, they still were here. Now, my reasoning is because they're funded probably by the federal government or somebody else. Now, in America, we have laws against a monopoly, which means that no one company can completely dominate a market. So if Intel was the only company around, they would have the monopoly on absolutely everything. Intel would have the monopoly, they'd own the market, there'd be no competition whatsoever. AMD, honestly, has to exist. They have to exist because they are the competition for Intel. They always have been. And now they've jumped into a totally new market buying ATI, which is probably one of the smartest things that they ever did, because actually AMD has improved since then. They've gotten better R&D, they've gotten better products. They've done a pretty good job of closing the market between both Intel and NVIDIA. But here's the whole thing about that. They're not only fighting a battle on one front, they're fighting a battle on two fronts. Just right there alone. They're trying to dominate in the GPU and the CPU market. No one else is doing this in the entire world. So AMD is actually in a very unique position where they're at. They actually keep both companies now kind of in check, because NVIDIA is really the only other game for video cards. So there's AMD and NVIDIA and then there's Intel, and there's AMD. AMD NVIDIA, AMD Intel. See the pattern there? Like, they're keeping both these companies from having a monopoly on the market, which is, if you think about it, it's kind of crazy stuff, right? So AMD has their position, but their position for them to move into the #1 spot, it would be very, very difficult, and is very difficult. For one thing, like I said, these guys don't have the money right now to invest enough money in R&D to beat two people on two different fronts. Maybe if they just chose one area and focused on that and kind of let the other one dwindle, you could do that. But fighting two different battles is really, really hard. So the R&D fact, that's right there. Plus, just think about this. The overall market share for AMD right now is probably between 17 and 22%, depending on what's going on. And this is because of name branding. If somebody goes into a store to go buy a computer, or they're ordering a computer online from Amazon and somewhere else, traditionally people look and they go, oh, Intel Inside. And when they see that, they recognize the Intel name. And it's the same thing with NVIDIA. Honestly, in some ways, ATI actually had more of a name for themselves in the video card business than AMD does, since AMD changed the name. Maybe they should have just left it ATI, but that's a whole nother video. But right now, that's really what really keeps them afloat. Even though they've changed the market with the CPUs pretty well, the video card market has really propelled them quite a long ways. Now, since they only have a smaller amount of the market share, that means they're making less money. So let's just say that tomorrow, AMD all of a sudden came up with a better video card than NVIDIA and a better CPU than Intel. Okay, they make it. How long will it take the general public and the people who go out there and buy stuff beyond enthusiasts that will change the market share so much that AMD is now getting, 80% of the market instead of the other guys getting that market share? That's a real big thing right there, because even if they had better products, the way things are right now, it would still take a few years probably for them to market the crap out of stuff and get it out there that, hey, AMD is actually now better, more stable, and and it's bigger and better than these other two companies. And that's going to be pretty hard. Plus, AMD honestly should work much more with all the gaming companies than they do. If you go out and you see most games, a lot of those games you see say meant to be played with NVIDIA, a lot more than on the AMD side. So if AMD really wants to get more recognition in the gaming industry, especially, which is like, the industry that fuels the whole PC entire thing these days pretty much. I mean, gaming's the #1 thing with 3D and VR and all other crap. It's where it's at. So if you're going to be inside of that market, you have to always be on top of your game. I know all of you die-hard fans and everybody, want AMD to succeed and be the #1 company. But unless a few things within that company change, it's going to be very hard for them to dominate and get that position and hold that position. Now, just think of this. Intel and NVIDIA, even when they stumble, they have so much cash and so much cash reserves from all the years that they've dominated the market that even if AMD does come up with better products, traditionally it goes like this. They bounce over each other. That would force these guys to do that. And this is what I think and I feel is the most unfortunate about all of this stuff. If AMD really doesn't push Intel and NVIDIA, we're not going to see any really changing products from Intel or NVIDIA. Because why are they going to change and release all these products if there's really no competition? I mean, think about it. If they're selling more, they're still selling more, they can sit on their laurels and just kick back and chill and wait for AMD to do whatever they were going to do. So if AMD changed a few things and somehow got infused with a lot more money for R&D, I think there is a good possibility that AMD could come up and they could dominate on both fronts. But the way things are right now, I just don't see it happening for quite a long while. Even if next year, like I said, they have absolutely better products, that still gives these other companies who haven't even really released their new arsenal of stuff, they've released a little bit of stuff, and we don't know how the 11 series launches. We don't know if it's going to be a rebrand. For some reason in the back of my mind now, I'm thinking it probably is, because there's really no reason for them to release a card that's so fast it's double the power of a 1080 Ti, because that would really make the playing field, honestly, there'd be no reason for anybody to go out and buy an AMD card at that point. There just wouldn't be, because if it's, you know, what is it, $599, $600 right now for the Vega 64? If they had a card that was even $700, $749, people are still going to be willing to pay more money for that NVIDIA card just because of the performance, and it would be very hard for AMD to sell those cards at that price point. They'd have to lower their card to a lower price to get people to buy it, since the performance differences would be so much, and that would honestly hurt AMD quite a bit. So hopefully, I guess for AMD's sake, you know, maybe this will be a rebrand by NVIDIA with the 11 series cards, and we won't see the market pull so far ahead. But until AMD actually does have better CPUs and better GPUs across the board, can maintain those products, those prices, and get those products to the market, and then get the public awareness to be like, hey, wow, AMD is a force to be reckoned with. Now, I know enthusiasts already know this, but general people out there who aren't computer enthusiasts only are going to buy what they recognize. Intel and NVIDIA are very, very recognized names. They have stuff everywhere. They spend huge marketing budgets because they have that money to throw away. Unless AMD can compete on all of these fields, work with the gaming companies to get more games to do this, it's going to be an uphill struggle. Now, please don't take this as I'm dissing on AMD, because I'm not whatsoever. But still, the facts are the facts, and reality sometimes is just a bitch.